Good evening, you are watching ReNEWS in English. I'm Sona Tumanyan. While we are in a state of uncertainty, Azerbaijani journalist Rafaoglu has reported new information about the expected Pashinyan-Aliyev meeting. He noted that Trump will first meet with Armenian Prime Minister Pashinyan and then will receive Azerbaijani President Aliyev. Next, Trump, Pashinyan and Aliyev will issue a joint statement. Official Yerevan has not yet released a statement so far for the moment. The Azerbaijani journalist working in Washington continues to be the source of the information. According to a statement released by the Ministry of Defense of Armenia on August 4th at approximately 1 p.m., units of the Azerbaijani armed forces opened fire in the direction of an excavator that was carrying out construction work on interpositional roads in the area 4,500 meters northeast of the Berishen settlement in the Sunik province. There are no casualties. Baku, however, denies the report. Iran updates the political messages daily. Iranian Vice President Mohammad Reza Aref and Armenian President Vahagan Khachaturian met in the city of Turkmenbashi, Turkmenistan, at a conference for landlocked countries. The Iranian Vice President welcomed the establishment of long-term peace and stability in the region and among neighboring countries, noting that peace serves the interests of all countries in the region. At the core of all this, however, Iran has repeatedly emphasized that regional problems must be solved without external forces. In other words, without the intervention of the East. Parallel to all this, Iran is facing complaints from Azerbaijan. Baku accuses Tehran of not providing information about the Azerbaijanis and its prisoners. Baku has accused that the rights of Iranian citizens in Azerbaijani prisons are supposedly protected. Iran is not leaving these claims unanswered. The spokesperson for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Islamic Republic, Esmail Baghai, has stated that Iranians detained in Azerbaijani prisons are subjected to cruel treatment. This is why Baku has remembered its criminals. It seems as though every country in the world has something to say to Azerbaijan. Central European countries are receiving contaminated oil from Azerbaijan. Armenia has received 184,000 tons of contaminated Azerbaijani oil and has alerted the European Commission, where a crisis-level state of emergency has also been declared. The Czech Republic is also dissatisfied with receiving oil contaminated with organic chloride. The Austrian energy group OMV has also announced that it received a shipment of Azerbaijani oil contaminated with organic chloride. Due to the poor quality of the Azerbaijani crude oil being transported through the Baku-Tbilisi-Ceyhan pipeline, the price of oil has dropped to a record low, and the transit of oil from the Turkish Ceyhan terminal of the Baku-Tbilisi-Ceyhan pipeline was delayed for several days. Former member of the German Bundestag, Edward Lenter, has been sentenced to a 9-month suspended sentence for accepting bribes from Azerbaijan. It was proven that between 2008 and 2018, the European official received approximately 4 million euros from Azerbaijan through shell companies. Until 2010, he was a member of Germany's delegation to the Parliament Assembly of the Council of Europe. Incidentally, Linter is not alone in this affair. Another Bundestag member and PACE member, Kerry Strens, is also accused of bribery. Over the course of about 10 years, numerous cases of European deputies being bribed with Azerbaijani petrodollars have been uncovered. Various European parliamentarians have received millions from the Aliyev regime in exchange for not criticizing his dictatorship in their reports and for taking a pro-Azerbaijani stance. It is also no coincidence that the Azerbaijani delegation was expelled from this body last year. And now, a follow-up from David Genjoyan. My colleague has examined the Abraham Accords and the controversy that has arisen around it. Why does Azerbaijan need to participate in these accords, and what is the U.S. seeking to achieve by supporting all of this? Let's watch the report.
Although Azerbaijan is not officially joining the Abraham Accords, it considers itself to be on the same path of normalizing relations with Israel. According to Reuters, this was stated by Azerbaijan's ambassador to the United Kingdom, who emphasized the deepening of the strategic partnership with Israel.
It is also important to note that joining such agreements is not merely a gesture of goodwill. A clear testament to this is that in response to Morocco's secession in 2020, the U.S. recognized its sovereignty over the disputed territory of Western Sahara. In the case of Sudan, after it joined in 2021, the U.S. removed it from the list of state sponsors of terrorism and provided financial assistance to help it pay off its debts to the World Bank. From all this, one can conclude that the U.S. uses both political and economic factors in an attempt to provide some kind of solution to this problem, which stems from centuries of history.
The countries that have joined the Abraham Accords, in addition to supporting the settlement of the Palestinian issue, are also guided by their own political and economic interests. Experts attribute the talk of other countries joining to these factors.
Naturally, every state has both political and economic interests. Joining this agreement is not merely a gesture of goodwill. Regarding the Arab countries, I can say that the United States has always tried to involve Saudi Arabia within the framework of these agreements, and now, looking toward 2025, also Syria. However, one cannot assume this process will be crowned with success, as the Arab countries set the recognition of the state of Palestine as a primary precondition, something which Israel continues to oppose to this day.
The name of the accord was not chosen by chance either. Experts see in it several possible messages directed at the countries of the region and the international community in general. According to the Bible, Abraham is the father of Isaac and Ishmael, the forefather of the Jewish and Arab peoples.
I think it is very important to address the origin of the name. Why Abrahamic? In my view, it can be explained with two approaches, subjective and objective. From an objective standpoint, it demonstrates that both religions belong to the group of Abrahamic faiths. From a subjective standpoint, it can be explained as follows. On a symbolic level, it is an attempt to emphasize the importance and necessity of the parties to the agreement coming together at a common table.
Although the Abraham Accords are presented as a tool for peace and cooperation, they primarily serve the narrow interests of the participating countries. Azerbaijan's unofficial, yet de facto strategic rapprochement with Israel shows that these processes are often guided more by geopolitical interests than by a pursuit of universal peace. The existing tension surrounding the Palestinian issue and the selective nature of the agreement's implementation cast doubt on their long-term effectiveness. David Genjoyan, ReOpen Media.
In Armenia, the topic of the electric networks of Armenia is still relevant, and passions are simmering, albeit mildly, particularly in light of a recent decision by international arbitration. The government asserts that the emergency arbitrator has rejected the new demands from the shareholders of ENA, which belongs to the detained businessman Samvel Karapetyan. Meanwhile, Karapetyan's defense team states that the Stockholm arbitration has affirmed the binding nature of the decision that prohibits the expropriation of ENA. Simon Hovanesyan has followed the thread of truth. Who holds what obligation? State versus ENA. Is it a conflict or a dialogue?
The Stockholm arbitration has affirmed its previous ruling in a new decision. The government of Armenia is obligated to refrain from the nationalization, expropriation of assets, or sale of the electric networks of Armenia, ENA. As you know, the authorities have initiated a process to nationalize ENA, in which Romanos Petrosyan was appointed as manager. The new manager has already managed to replace the heads of several departments. The same decision arriving in Yerevan from Stockholm is being interpreted in two different ways by the two sides.
In fact, the interpretations presented by both sides are consistent with reality, with the following clarification. First and foremost, the newly submitted demands were not granted, which is the interpretation presented by the government. The fact that there is an existing corresponding ruling that was made previously is in effect and has not been refuted. That is what was presented by the defense side.
The emergency arbitrator has rejected the new demands of the ENA shareholders, the government writes.
In its decision of August 3rd, the arbitrator completely rejected the claimant's demand on the grounds that new claims, different from the initial ones, were presented, and that its jurisdiction and powers do not extend to the requested interim measures.
Armenia can choose not to comply with the arbitration decision, Minister of Justice Serbuhi Galian stated just a week ago, insisting that they can refuse to enforce an international arbitration decision if it contradicts public policy.
It is a fact that the state can take such actions, but it is also a fact that taking such actions can lead to very severe legal consequences in terms of paying penalties and fines, failing to fulfill obligations, freezing various accounts, or find other means of enforcement. That, too, is a fact.
The other side, Samvel Karapetyan's defense team, says that the Stockholm arbitration has affirmed the binding nature of the decision that prohibits the expropriation of INA. Incidentally, they submitted a new claim to the court because Armenia refused to comply with the previous decision.
On August 4, 2025, the emergency arbitrator decided not to examine the need to supplement its earlier decision, thereby once again confirming that its decision of July 22 is already subject to mandatory and immediate enforcement by the Republic of Armenia.
There is no final court decision yet. This is about preliminary rulings, and the parties continue to escalate the uncertainty surrounding them, making the future of INA even more murky. Simon Hovhannisyan, ReOpen Media.
Are you ready to pay $15,000 for a U.S. visa? The United States has announced that it will begin taking a $15,000 bond from all those who apply for an American visa. Thinking it's non-refundable? No. The money will be returned after you leave the territory of the United States before your visa expires. Let this be the start of our international news segment, with more in the report.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has decided to fully occupy the Gaza Strip and expand military operations in the region. Local media report that if the Chief of Staff of the Israeli Army does not agree with this decision, he must resign, which would signify a sharp change in Israel's strategy, operations in densely populated areas, including refugee camps. On Monday, at least 63 Palestinians were killed in Israeli attacks, including those waiting for humanitarian aid, while another 5 people died from starvation and malnutrition, raising the total number of deaths from starvation to 180, 93 of whom are children. According to the UN, 28 people are dying from starvation in Gaza daily. Pakistan has resumed the forced deportation of 1.4 million Afghan refugees despite concerns from the UN, as their registration cards have expired and they no longer have legal status in the country. This decision could destabilize the situation in Afghanistan, where the Taliban government has been in power since 2021. The UN Refugee Agency has criticized these actions, calling on Pakistan to adopt a more humane approach. After the 12-day Iran-Israel war, Iran deported 1.5 million Afghans. The Netherlands has become the first NATO member to allocate €500 million to supply Ukraine with American weapons, including Patriot missiles, in response to a new mechanism proposed by Trump. This move, which was welcomed by the leaders of NATO and Ukraine, is aimed at strengthening Ukraine's air defense. Dutch Prime Minister Dick Schoof noted that this weapons package will help Ukraine fight not only for its own freedom, but for the freedom of all of Europe. U.S. Presidential Special Envoy Steve Witkoff will visit Moscow to negotiate a peace agreement with Russia under the threat of new sanctions, as Donald Trump has set a deadline: sign a peace deal by Friday or face sanctions. The Kremlin has stated that it is ready for negotiations, but Russian attacks against Ukraine continue. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is calling on the U.S. to expedite sanctions to protect the people of Ukraine. Zelensky proposed a personal meeting with Putin, but the Kremlin declined, stating that preparatory work is not yet complete. Brazil's Supreme Court has ruled to place former President Jair Bolsonaro under house arrest. He is accused of attempting to organize a coup d'etat after losing the 2022 election to the current president, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. Previously, he was banned from using social media and a mobile phone, but at a rally last Sunday, he addressed his supporters using the speaker on his son's phone. Judge Alexander de Moraes stated that the 70-year-old former president violated the ban on using social media by using the phones of his 3 sons, who are lawmakers. During the rally of Bolsonaro supporters in Rio de Janeiro, the former president addressed them, saying, "Good day, my Brazil. I embrace you all. This is for our freedom." Bolsonaro's lawyers have announced that they will appeal the court's decision, as they saw nothing criminal in their client's speech. David Genjoyan, ReOpen Media.
Now, exclusive details from the organizers of the Jennifer Lopez concert in Yerevan. Putting emotional judgments aside, what did Armenia gain in terms of economic indicators? The spectacular show is over, but are there any positive consequences? From behind the scenes of the colorful concert, my colleagues have found out details about its organization. Why didn't Snoop Dogg come? Was Jennifer Lopez satisfied with Armenia? Let's watch the report.
Minister of Economy Gevork Papoyan addressed the Lopez concert and the potential benefits Armenia gained from it.
In 2024, the Ministry of Economy published the visitation study by the Italian-Armenian Consortium, according to which tourists on package deals spend an average of $888 when visiting Armenia. Therefore, based on this research, we can claim that in return for the $6 million spent on this concert, we received a sum of more than $13.3 million.
We invited Jennifer Lopez to increase the flow of tourists to Armenia, said Haik Simonian, director of the organizing company Doping Space, in a conversation with us. In this case, according to the organizer, the important thing is not the large investment, but the benefit received from it.
In reality, we haven't reinvented the wheel. Truly, there is no faster way in the entire world to attract tourists than events like these. There's no other method by which you can attract a crowd of this size and quality to your country at this speed.
He speaks about the funds allocated by the state, saying that about $1.7 to $2 million is returned to the government anyway in the form of taxes. Plus, there's a bank guarantee through which the state insures the funds it provides against the company's potential failure.
Yes, the country plays a very big role. It's also very important that they, the artist team, understand that you have the capability to pull it off, because no one will sign a contract with you until you pass a validation process to show that you're substantial enough for them to trust you with their image. Because the artist is coming to an unfamiliar country with their team. They will be in an unfamiliar stage working with unfamiliar people, and until they are convinced that, to put it bluntly, it won't backfire and that they won't lose even more money from damage to their image if you mess something up, they will never accept your payment.
According to Simonian, it's impossible to organize such a concert with private funds alone. For that, you need a stadium with a capacity of at least 80,000 people just to come close to covering the costs. Simonian also talks about the agreement with Snoop Dogg. He says he went and negotiated with the artist and explained the situation.
Beyond the paperwork, there was a situation that had developed with My Nation, where it couldn't imagine us taking any other path. We couldn't host you because our compatriots had faced a very brutal event on that very day. We couldn't celebrate anything on that day. When he understood all of this, which I say again is truly hard to imagine, the entire sum was returned.
The concert by the world-class star aimed to raise Armenia's recognition, develop cultural tourism, and present the country as a platform ready to host major events, the Ministry of Education, Science, Culture and Sport, or MESCS, noted in response to our inquiry. The organizers also provided free tickets to groups of people with special needs. As for the financial details, according to the MESCS, the Doping Space company will submit a report on the expenses after the event is concluded. By the way, according to rumors circulating in the press, Jennifer Lopez liked Armenian dolma. Simon Hovhannisyan, David Grigorian, Edgar Haratunian, Stepan Tigranyan, David Yegyazaran, ReOpen Media.
Lush greenery, fresh air, magnificent nature, comfort, and harmony. This is what the Armenian Switzerland offers you. I'm, of course, talking about Dilijan. In Armenia, the city has become beloved in its own unique way by both locals and tourists alike. I will not hesitate to say that its hospitality and Armenian character are the reason. Narina Ghukasyan has prepared a report filled with the local flavor of Dilijan. Let's take a mental trip to that city.
The resort town of Dilijan is located at an altitude of 1,100 to 1,510 meters above sea level in the Agastev River Valley. For many years now, visitors to the city have first been greeted by the boiled corn stalls. Through the joint efforts of the Dilijan municipality and the international company Greenrock, 25 wooden stalls equipped with the necessary amenities were acquired and branded. Today, vendors offer their services in more improved conditions, and the entrance to the province is even more impressive to visitors, not only with Dilijan's magnificent nature, but also with its delicious and appealing stalls. This is not the only project with Greenrock. The company is implementing large-scale regional development programs. The international organization's sole purpose is to create broad opportunities in the provinces and cities for balanced development, education and career prospects, business management, tourism, and recreation. To make Dilijan even more recognizable and attractive to tourists, the company will open the region's first Apicius International School of Hospitality. It specializes in the fields of hospitality management, food, wine, and wellness.
We will open our hospitality school this September together with our Italian partners. Our partner organization is located in Florence, Italy.
The The school aims to develop the culture of hospitality and gastronomy in Armenia, while simultaneously combining international experience with local characteristics. Here, students will acquire both theoretical knowledge and practical skills in accordance with the industry's international standards.
We hope that the school, which will bring internationally qualified instructors, international standards, and international curricula from Italy, will make the hospitality sector in Dilijan even more high quality and of a higher level. Dilijan will become even more attractive and interesting for the foreign market.
In addition, as part of its attractive community framework, the company has opened Green Cab Eco Taxi and has renovated the Dilijan Sports School. All these initiatives come to prove that a public-private partnership, when done with genuine care, can be even more effective. Our film crew toured Dilijan to talk with tourists, to understand what they liked and what still needs improvement.
We've been here for 2 days. We haven't walked around that much yet. To be honest, we really like the wine shop. They let us have a taste. We are staying on the second floor. The balcony looks directly at the mountain. It's a very beautiful view. This is our second time in Dilijan. Last time was for a short while. This time we will stay for a week. The nature is green, the weather is cooler compared to Yerevan. Here you can breathe fresh air, there's a river, there are mountains. We really like it here. We are from Minsk. The air is wonderfully clean. The nature, it feels like Austria is next door. At night, we fall asleep to the sound of the babbling river. It's wonderful.
It's not just tourists from abroad who are charmed by Dilijan, but also our compatriots from various regions of the Republic who are vacationing here.
We prefer to come to Dilijan. Our air and water are our own. At our age, we love our own things. Ours is different. There are so many other places to go, but we don't go. We're very grateful for the air, the water.
The external appearance of Dilijan has also changed. Through subvention programs, streets are being paved with asphalt, sidewalks are being renovated, and the quality and safety of the roads are being improved.
A lot has changed. A lot of job sites have opened up where people can work. In what sector? Construction. Our Dilijan is becoming more beautiful. It's flourishing day by day. Back then, there was a lot of deforestation. You could say now there is no deforestation in Dilijan. The construction work is proceeding normally. Anyone who comes to Dilijan after a year will notice a lot of changes. Specifically, in the village of Tegut, a water pipeline was laid. The people's water problem has been solved.
At the time of our filming, work was also being carried out to clean the riverbed. The courtyards of the buildings adjacent to Gethapnia Street are also being improved, which is an important step in creating more comfortable conditions for residents and tourists. Narine Gukasyan, Gevorksian Sonyan, ReOpen Media.
For more updates, follow us on YouTube, Telegram, Instagram, X, and Facebook. Daily news and full coverage are available on our official website. I'm Sona Tumanyan. Stay informed with ReNews. Goodbye.